What's up, Bruhlie Nation? I'm back with an emergency Bruhlie video. I need to talk about Vultures 2 because it fucking sucked. So it's been a while since I played on this world. I don't think I've played since last year, so I don't really remember what I was doing. That's not really the point of this video. The point is Vultures 2 is trash, it's embarrassing. It's easily the worst album Kanye West has ever put out. Now, Kanye got a lot of hate for Vultures 1, and I completely understood that too, because the songs are kinda goofy. Kanye said a lot of weird things that either detracted from the song or just didn't really fit it or were, controversial. It's fine to think Vultures 1 is a bad album, because quite frankly, it kinda is. However, I got a lot of enjoyment out of Vultures 1, because even though it kinda sucked, and in the long term it wasn't that replayable, in the short term it was a lot of fun to experience in real time. I didn't mind the goofy songs that much, so like Back to Me, or Paid, where he's just kinda saying whatever he wants to. Obviously, it wasn't as good as when Kanye's taking his music super seriously, like on, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, or A College Dropout. But for what it was, a fun party album with Ty Dolla $ign, I thought it was fine. I still listen to the song with YG to this day pretty regularly. Now, the difference between Vultures 1 and Vultures 2, in theory, is that Vultures 2 is supposed to be like a more serious album than Vultures 1. A lot of the tracks are like fan favorite leaks from previous Kanye eras that he put on the album. And these songs all have a lot of emotional weight to them. The problem is the album is literally unfinished and unlistenable. People have said this about every Kanye album that they dislike, but here it's the worst it's ever been. And I'll go through, starting now, track by track, and explain what makes each song just completely trash. Now, the first song on the album is Slide, and this song is actually one of the better ones. I personally don't care for it very much, but it has no major issues with it. It's a finished song. Both Ty and Kanye have alright lyrics. The beat is okay. It has like that THX startup sound playing in the background, which I'll be honest, I think it kind of gets old after a couple listens, but I understand why people like it. So it's not the best song in the world, but in terms of the rest of the album, it's probably one of the better ones. Then we got into Time Moving Slow, and here is where a lot of my issues with this project begin to materialize, because we actually heard a version of this song along with most songs on Vultures 2 back in December. This song, Time Moving Slow, was played at like a radio show or something hosted in Chicago, and you could find the re-uploads made on YouTube. When I heard the original song, I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a nice like club Jersey beat. I'm that familiar with music terminology. I liked it. I was excited to see if they will ever release it. But the version we got is less finished than the version we heard back in December. But the biggest problem is the mixing is so low, it's like you can barely hear the song. This is the biggest problem with the album, is that the mixing is complete garbage and it's super embarrassing at points. Vultures 1 also had some problems with mixing, but generally, I never really paid much attention to that. I couldn't really hear what most people were complaining about, because I'm not like a music critic. My ears aren't trained to recognize all these slight inconsistencies. But here, it's obvious that the song is way too quiet. That's not the only problem with the song. The beat got a huge overhaul, and I just think it sounds worse. This is like comparatively a minor criticism, because stuff like beats and singing is subjective, while just being able to hear the song at all is an objective fact. I think the changed beat also makes the acapella part in the middle of the song Kanye does a lot more awkward, because with the original beat, it was kind of like industrial sounding at that point. I might play a clip of it in the video, just so you guys see what I mean. Oh god. Yes. The Ultras, the Milan Ultras, the soccer fans that Kanye got on Carnival and stuff, they're on the song in the intro and they're just like completely unnecessary. They don't really fit the vibe of the song at all. So Time Moving Slow is probably, I wouldn't say it's one of my least favorite tracks, but it's one of my most disappointing. Then we get Field Trip, and Field Trip is one of the better songs on the album, but it too has its issues like all the other songs. This is one of the songs where Kanye uses AI to give his verse. The original song, which was leaked, has Ty Dolla $ign doing a complete verse, and Kanye just like takes the second half of Ty Dolla $ign's verse and puts an AI filter over it to make it sound like Kanye. And that's very embarrassing. Kanye should not be using AI to do his verses. We know he can still rap.
You went outside, I wish it was different. When outside, I wish it was different.
On top of that, this is another one of those songs that is mixed a little quietly. The beat is too loud, so it drowns out a lot of people's verses. Like, you can't hear Cardi that well. When the beat switches and Kodak Black comes in, you can like barely hear what he's saying.
That my little bitch, she gon' listen to dirt in the trenches where her been uncomfortable.
It's not as bad as Time Moving Slow or some other songs I'll get to in a bit, but it's still noticeably bad. And also, the song was shortened in comparison to some of the leaks we heard. In some of the original versions, they either cut out Kodak Black's part completely and have the song end after Ty Dolla $ign's verse, or they will have like a completely second part of the song that Kodak Black transitions into with the new beat. Cardi gives a second verse, Ty Dolla $ign gives a second verse. But here we just have like Kodak Black to transition, and then it just goes back into the chorus one more time, and then the song ends. I'm not sure why this was the version they chose to go with, because we heard better versions in the past. This will be a common theme in this video. Next up we have Fried. This song is like okay. It's obviously trying to be like Carnival 2 with the ultras chanting and Kanye's like really obnoxious lyrics, but I don't mind it too much. It sounds like it could fan Vultures 1 until Ty Dolla $ign, he comes in and he is also mixed too quietly. The beat drowns him out. I couldn't tell it was Ty Dolla $ign until the end.
Swerving in the lamb off the lot. 5% to 10 when on top.
People were making fun of Ty Dolla $ign's verse on this track too. I don't really mind it. It's kind of like that goofy Vultures 1 feel. And stuff like that I can excuse. But I can't excuse all these like mixing errors. The next track is just like a 8-second interlude called Isabella, I think. I'm not really sure why it's here. It's pretty unnecessary, doesn't add anything in my opinion. But I guess it doesn't really like detract from the album either. And this takes us to Promotion, which is again one of the better songs. I think this first half of the album as it stands right now is the better half. Promotion is pretty finished. The mixing's a little quiet overall, especially at the second half. The beat is pretty quiet, but there's finished verses. Future does a good job. Kanye gives one of his better verses. Outro's a little nice, so it's one of my favorite tracks from the album, I would say. But from here, everything turns south. The next song was Husband, and this song I think is pretty bad. The Ty Dolla $ign isn't on it at all, which honestly I don't mind too much. I know like Future in his collab albums, he'll oftentimes like give songs all to himself. So I understand not having both Ty and Kanye on every song, but here it's like especially noticeable that he is lacking, because like Kanye's singing really poorly. I don't even know like what he's talking about, honestly. I didn't really bother to go to Genius at all. I think he has some pretty cringe lyrics. The true horridness of this track isn't apparent until the next song, Lifestyle, because the outro to Lifestyle is just Husband. Again.
Neighbors know this shit get out of hand, but they smile. Neighbors know this shit get out of hand, but they smile.
It's like they uploaded the wrong song when they uploaded Husband, and they accidentally uploaded the outro. I'm pretty sure it's like verbatim the same thing. I don't think this was done as like a creative decision either. It was just like a complete accident that they uploaded the same song twice at 2 different points on the album. The rest of the song, Lifestyle, is like kind of okay. We heard a better version of it that was leaked a couple days before the album came out. The duck sound that plays over and over in the song is pretty annoying, and I tried to excuse it the first time I listened to it, but it really gets in the way of being able to enjoy the song.
Twist my tail, spiffs tight at the end like Travis Kelce. Twist my tail, spiffs tight at the end like Travis Kelce. Got that BBL.
I will say, the Husband works better as the outro on this song. I feel like it's more natural. People also preferred Ty Dolla $ign's original hook over Kanye's hook that we got, or Kanye's chorus. I actually think Kanye does a slightly better job than Ty Dolla $ign, even though I missed him chanting like go, go, go at the start of Lil Wayne's verse.
She wanna live this lifestyle. She wanna live this lifestyle.
She wanna live this lifestyle. She wanna live this lifestyle.
The next song is Maybe, which I think, as a recording, has already been updated and renamed to Forever. The original song was like 2 minutes long, and it was like kind of like an interlude. I thought it was terrible. really forgettable. Probably one of his worst songs he's ever made. Kanye, I don't think actually has a verse. He just like mumbles random syllables, complete gibberish, and like expects you to like just be cool with it. Mumble verses are kind of on every recent Kanye album if you go searching for them, but it's just so apparent here. He usually like hides them better. It'll only be a couple lines that are mumbled, but his entire verse here and on another song is just complete gibberish, and it's like, why are you putting this out? It's so obviously unfinished. But it's since been updated, and the long outro has been removed, I think. I actually haven't listened to it yet. I might as well give it its first listen right now. I'll talk about the album being updated at the end, because I have thoughts and opinions on that too. I don't think you can hear it. People said it sounds like an Honestly Nevermind song, and that's true. There's like no beat on this song. I think Husband was the same. It wasn't like ambient in a cool way. It was just like a bunch of random noises.
If I do, I know I'm going back to back, breaking backs to backs.
Oh, here's the mumble verse. Yeah, the mumble is still there. So I feel like Kanye should redo this song again and add actual lyrics to it. Yeah, I still do not like this song whatsoever. Is Bomb next? Oh, Bomb is next. So Bomb is like the highlight from the album. It's everyone's favorite song. Neither Kanye or Ty Dolla $ign have any verses. Instead, Kanye's daughters, North and Chicago, who are aged like 10 and 5, give verses instead. And honestly, compared to songs like Time Moving Slow and Maybe or Forever and Husband, I can excuse this song being on the album because it's like Kanye wants to make a fun song with his kids. Is it good? No, not at all. I'm never gonna listen to it after this week. I can understand why it's on the album compared to the last song, which is this complete drivel. Now, this rest of the album all had potential to be great, and this was the most frustrating part of the album. Because Vultures 1 is like, it's a party album. You're gonna say stupid stuff, but it's at least finished, and you can appreciate like what it's trying to do. Jesus is King, another Kanye album I didn't like. It's trying to be super religious, and I think probably succeeded in that front. I'm not into that type of music, so I didn't care for it that much, but I can appreciate that Kanye had a vision. He probably thinks he executed it the best he could. Here though, these songs are so unfinished that I genuinely have no clue what was going through their head. And River is one of the best examples. It's like Time Moving Slow, where the mix is so bad it's almost unlistenable. Everyone is tuned so far down, you can barely hear Young Thug. You can barely hear Kanye.
Yeah, that in it, drop out the road. Stay with you, high on some bros. When I reckon, check out it close.
Well, River was leaked beforehand, and people like the original beat more than the beat we ended up getting. But I don't have a preference.
I've been on a crazy run. If you got the kick and buns, you gon' have to save me some. I've been on a crazy run. If you got the kick and buns, you gon' have to save me some.
530 is probably the most embarrassing song on the album, because 530, which originally like a Donda 2 era track, that leaked back in like late 2022. And the first half is very good. It's I think one of the better Kanye leaks. But the second half is filled with Kanye mumble. He doesn't really say anything besides like, you don't like me, go listen to Moneybagg Yo or something, which is a little funny. So when I saw it on the album, I assumed, oh wow, they finally finished 530. Ty Dolla $ign will probably do the second half of the song, and this will be one of the highlights from the album. Not only is it still unfinished and there's still Kanye mumble, fans on Good Ass Sub proved it's just the YouTube version of the song that we already had, like ripped in a .mp3 converter.
Oh, this on the go with it, I'm gonna throw it in, and I go with it. Don't wanna go with it, and I throw it in, and we going in. Oh, this on the go with it, I'm gonna throw it in, and I go with it. Don't wanna go with it, and I throw it in, and we going in.
Like, he didn't actually work on the song at all since then. Kanye and Ty went to YouTube and just pirated their own song to put on Spotify. It's so embarrassing that they just had no thought when putting together this album and just like made decisions based on what the fans wanted instead of like what they actually thought would sound good. Because the fans don't even want this unfinished version of 530, they want the finished version. The next two tracks, Dead and Forever Rolling, are kind of generic trap songs that are honestly probably my favorites on the album because there's nothing blatantly wrong with them. I've seen some people complain about the mixing on these two tracks, but I personally didn't notice anything while listening. They're not Kanye's best work, but I think they're pretty passable. They're like some of the forgettable songs on Donda, like the He had a song with Lil Durk on Donda that was cool for a bit, but then kind of got old. That's what those two tracks remind me of. Sky City is the next song, and this, along with 530, were the two songs that just got completely butchered. Like 530, Sky City was like a leak for years, but it's actually even older. I think it dates back to 2018, and so many different versions have existed of the songs, and some that are arguably pretty finished versions, I feel like. I'll actually give some background on this song, because back in July, I started writing a video about Yandhi, where I was going to do a complete deep dive, so I'm pretty familiar with this song's history. And when it last left off, Kanye gave the song to his friend Sci-Hi the Prince, to include on his album, but that never ended up happening. Sci-Hi still hasn't released his album. So instead of using his original version Kanye made, or like making a new version of the song, Kanye just takes Sci-Hi the Prince's version, adds an AI filter over the first verse to make it sound like him, although you can still obviously tell it's Sci-Hi.
Always wanted to know, did Biggie get a big house?
Then the second verse he lets Sci-Hi do, but then it just like awkwardly cuts into his original song. It's like, well, just release your original song then.
Out of the body, Julius Gotti.
The original song is still mixed like shit, because that was a problem even back then. But since it was a leak, no one really cared. But now it's actually on the album, and so you have to actually mix the songs properly to make it listenable. It's like, I'm not gonna listen to it on Spotify just because it's there. I'm gonna listen to the leaked versions that were leaks that sound better, and maybe still have some of the same errors, but aren't supposed to be the finished versions. And the outro to this song is My Soul. Originally, it was titled Fighting Fires and Leaks. Well, I was personally more disappointed in Sky City and 530. Hearing this song at the end put into perspective how frustrating this album is. Because this song, as of recording, literally only plays out of your left ear. I think you can maybe hear like some like reverb in your right ear, but it's like, it's mixed beyond to the point where it's unfinished. It's like mixed wrong. They did something wrong to the mix. They like were messing around in the studio and they uploaded that version instead of like the right version. I think the beat might also not be mixed the best, but I can't even tell because it only comes out of my left ear. So like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that? But the reason this song is so frustrating to me is because at the end, Ty Dolla $ign has his brother, Big TC, give the closing verse to the album. From what I can tell, it's actually a very emotional verse, because for context, Big TC is Ty Dolla $ign's brother, and he is currently serving either a life sentence or a 20-year sentence for a crime that he claims to this day he did not commit. Now, I have no idea whether that's true or not. He was found guilty, so maybe there's some truth to it, but Ty Dolla $ign, Big TC, and Kanye all claim he's innocent. And this album was supposed to be like their tribute to him, and that's why they have him give the closing verse, so people like understand why they're making this album. Big TC's even on the album cover. Vultures 1, you had Kanye and his wife, because it's like, look, it's a party album. I'm gonna be talking about having sex with my wife on the album a lot. But here, it's like, no, this is a serious album. This is Ty Dolla $ign and his brother, who are going through like a very troubling time in their life and they need support. But the execution was just fumbled so poorly. What the fuck? Where'd my water bucket go? Whatever. The execution of this album was just done so poorly. That's like embarrassing if I were Big TC. Have this album associated with like my attempts at getting released from prison. This is supposed to be a serious album with serious themes, and this is completely fucked by mixing problems and unfinished verses, and it's a lack of care all around. Lastly, a lot of Kanye fans are thinking that Vultures 2 will be fixed in post. That Kanye and Ty will go back and will finish all the songs for real, and in a few months from now, every song will be good. Because that's what he did for The Life of Pablo, and that's what Kanye claimed he was gonna do for Donda, Vultures 1, and Donda 2, because those albums all had some small problems. And to Kanye's credit, he already has updated Vultures 2, like I explained. Besides for completely redoing that Maybe song, a lot of tracks like Field Trip have gotten updated mixes, I heard. Same thing with Fred, I think. But I don't think it's good for artists like Kanye to just release an album when it's clearly unfinished and saying, oh, they'll just fix it in post. When I listen to an album on Spotify, I expect it to be done and completed. Life of Pablo was like the exception, because that was made in 2016, originally released on Tidal as an exclusive, and then I believe as it was officially released on other streaming services for free, Kanye would then update the album. But this is like the fourth album in a row that Kanye will fix and post, and that didn't even happen for Donda and Vultures 1. Donda got like very small updates once. I think they removed Chris Brown on New Again, which wasn't even like that big of a deal. And Vultures 1 never got the mix-in changes everyone said they were gonna get. So I just don't really believe Kanye when he says he's gonna finish Vultures 2. This overall very embarrassing album. Kanye and Ty should be ashamed of themselves that they thought it was good to release. I would have better preferred if it's never released Vultures 2 at all. At this point, I think Kanye should probably take a long break from releasing music. He doesn't necessarily have to take a break from making music, because that's what he does, he's a musician. But like, I could definitely go 3 years without a new Kanye album and be completely fine. I don't want Vultures 3 to release in another 6 months, and it's like Take Off My Dress featuring Chicago West. Or like Drunk with Bad Bunny and Kodak Black, but the verses only come out of your right ear. So I think that's gonna do it for this video. As for like a brief channel update, I have another video I'm working on right now that should be released in 2 weeks, I would say. It's not a Minecraft Legends video, but it's like akin to that. It's a story about a Minecraft tournament. After that, I have plans to do a Survivor video for Survivor September, like I did last year. And then I'll probably work on my Yandi video. I'm working on my Slinging channel too, trying to make it into like a C-Scoop type series. I have a Skyblock video from June and a Super Hostile video from July I uploaded. I'm working on 2 more videos on that channel right now. I think that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my angry rant at Kanye and Ty, 2 multimillionaires who'll never see this. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.